So a big part of the um, demolition can often be asset protection. So if you're going to demolish a structure, you've got to protect what's to remain. Good example of that is the A38 Merrifield, as I said, where we had to protect the road from the impact, and we also had to protect a series of services, which I haven't shown the detail of, but that's in cases like that, you're going to be bringing in quite a lot of crushed material to make a nice absorbent pad for the bridge deck to drop onto. It's not going to be suited to just drop it onto navy mats when you're dropping that sort of weight of bridge structure. If you're working on the railway, then if it's a underbridge or overbridge, sorry, underbridge, then you're going to be protecting the railway itself from the impact load and the demolition. Generally, 150mm deep navy mats are going to be adequate. But again, you always have to think about what it is you're doing and what is the potential for impact on the structure. It's not just a case of one size fits all. It's thinking through what could happen and making sure that you've protected the railway adequately. Typically, if it's an OLE area, you'll be dropping the OLE, split ducting it, and putting it under the road, under the navy mat protection. The important thing to consider when putting in rail protection is that you don't load the rail heads directly. That's frowned upon by the permanent way teams. If you go back 20 years, that's exactly what used to happen. But now we bridge over and make sure we're not directly loading the rail heads or the sleepers or any other assets. Generally, we try and put the load into the ballast directly. Sometimes when you're doing traditional demolition, the road mats or navy mats are not going to be adequate. Again, this is a case where you have to think about what it is you're doing and how you're going to collapse the structure. So this was a post-tension structure, and the structural form was such that we were concerned about trying to deal with it in a conventional manner. So where you try and take all the weight out of it in the air and then instigate collapse quite late on. In this case, we wanted to weaken the structure and collapse it quite early and then deal with it when it was on the ground. So for that reason, we put in this greater level of road protection, including large piles of it, specifically where we were going to hinge the bridge and cause it to collapse. This was one of the M25 bridges, I can't remember which one, but that was completed, and you could see video of it online that it worked quite successfully and protected the road from the impact, and everything was done safely, which is, after all, what we're all trying to achieve. Sometimes as assets you need to protect, like a little signal cabinet or a little door signal or similar, and then it's a simple case of building a lightweight timber box around them. Obviously it's got a lid. I just didn't show the snapshot with the lid. Just something that's going to make sure of the likely impacts it's going to be protected against. Obviously, if that's directly underneath the bridge, it's probably going to need more protection than if that's just outside the bridge. Again, it comes down to looking and thinking about what needs protecting and to what level, but at the same time keeping it simple so the guys can put it together quite quickly on site. Again, it's always about keeping things simple, because with bridge demolition, you're normally working against the clock. Very rare that you've got an unlimited amount of time in which to protect a structure and demolish it. So here, stacks of navy mats and then navy mats over the top just to protect the concrete road barrier that was to remain in place. And simply for things like services where they've diverted them into split ducting, making sure they're properly protected from any likely impacts. Again, typically navy mats are going to do the trick. Though you wouldn't believe the number of times we've had to discuss whether navy mats work or not with check-in engineers.